Uncle Sam's getting pretty hot. Time to turn Iran into a parking lot. Bomb Iran, bomb, 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 bomb Iran, bomb, bomb Iran. The country's got a feeling, really hit the ceiling. Bomb Iran, bomb, 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 bomb Iran. Call the volunteers, call the bombardiers, call the financiers. Better get their ass in gear. Bomb Iran, bomb, 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 bomb Iran.
Good morning, Iran. Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is Jeremy coming at you once again with Redtired Podcast, and I'm joined today by one of my best good buddies who's got an actually very appropriate name for today's podcast, Big Bomber Bill. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Jeremy. Happy to be here.
Happy Bomb Iran Day.
Yeah. National holiday.
Yeah, so we've got a little bit to talk about today. Apparently, it's something that really piqued my interest real early on. Was there's some stuff that went down where obviously we know that Iran has lobbed a couple of bombs at us, or a couple of missiles at us.
Ballistic missiles, yes.
And what's funny is they missed. Okay, big time. Kind of a warning shot, I think.
Well, so a guy actually pointed out when I was doing a follow-up and watching the news, because, you know, the news is the best source of information on the planet.
I'm going to debunk that.
It was Fox News. One guy had pointed out, he said, did they actually, he said, the airbase is actually a really big airbase. So did he miss on purpose just to say, hey, we got our revenge, you know, and that's it. We got our revenge. And so that kind of led to Trump just kind of chill out, because they are calling that their revenge is complete, even though they just put a couple of craters in the ground. And at the moment, I haven't heard of any casualties at the airbase. So you see where I'm going.
So addressing that, actually, something that's funny is MSNBC was reporting some stuff from Iranian news.
Another honest news, you know.
Words are hard. It's okay. You get there.
I'm dyslexic.
So okay. So first of all, what's funny about this is I've already got, like, dude, if you go through Facebook, if you look at the Facebook feed, it's ridiculous. A lot of people who have this crazy idea in their head that all of a sudden they're all they've got this idea, like
World War III.
World War III is coming. Everybody,
stupidest thing I've heard.
Everybody knows everything about war all of a sudden, right?
Yeah, we're apparently idiots because we have this different opinion of it. So apparently everyone else is experts, and the guys who actually been there are just retarded. I mean, that's what I feel like.
Oh yeah, we're stupid. What do we know about war? Come on.
I'll take those badges off my Class A's. I'm sorry. You're right. I'm retarded.
All those awards, what do they mean? They don't mean anything. Come on. No, yeah, it's nothing. You know, so there's some big, like, I got up this morning and everybody is all of a sudden non-interventionist. Like, they're so scared of Iran. I'm like, dude, it's Iran. We're not talking about fighting China here. We're talking about Iran. Yeah. Okay.
And I did some research into that, because I was like, you know what? What does Iran have? Let's explore that. And so I did some knowledge. We outnumber them like 1-3.
Mm-hmm.
Everything we have is just 3-1. I think the only thing that they came close to us in numbers is our Navy. And it's kind of still a really dumb comparison, because it's like they have 200 fishing boats where we have 200 ballistic cruise missile, you know, frigates, you know. And it's like they just have, it's just a ridiculous comparison. And a lot of their stuff they have is communist Cold War Russia stuff that they've just kind of, you know, slapped a fresh coat of paint on. I mean, and I could be underselling that a lot, you know, but you know, it's just roughly looking around on the internet, you know. They got some pretty old school stuff. Not saying they can't do any damage, but I'm just saying we kind of got them in the military department.
Yeah, I think that's almost a no-brainer. In fact, something that I want a lot of people to consider is like, Iraq and Iran had been at war with one another for quite some time, right?
Oh yeah.
Right. So, and they were constantly fighting back and forth. And this went on for years. It was like 7 years, 8 years. It was a very long conflict. They're constantly going back and forth. And when we had to fight Iraq, I'm just going to throw this out there. We wiped their army out in like 6 months.
Yeah. And so you got to remember some factors. All right. And this is just plain old facts. And ain't nobody going to take the plain straight up facts seriously. Iraq, when Gulf War happened, was the 4th largest military in the world. Iran is the 13th largest military in the world as of now. UK comes in 5th. The UK comes in 5th. Okay. I just wanted to put those numbers out there because they're facts. No one takes them seriously.
Okay.
Right now, back then, during the Gulf War, it was a 6-month air campaign of just bombing sites. We had like all of our boys. We were like, Schwarzkopf was like, "Hey, you want to come on over? Hey, yeah, come on out, man. Bring the Air Force. Yeah, come on, man. Let's go. Let's make it a barbecue." And we spent 6 months pounding them into the ground. Our numbers, like I said, we outnumber them about 3 to 1 in the Air Force Department, and they're using MiGs. We're using F-35s, F-22 Raptors. We don't even have to look at the guy. We can just be like, boom, and it's gone. Annie Oakley, that shot. The jets are so advanced.
Did you guys hear something?
Yeah.
Oh, look, a mushroom cloud. Huh, smoke.
Yeah. And so just like, I feel like a lot of people are kind of like overselling Iran, but I don't think they realize that, if they sneeze the wrong way, they're going to have us and like 10 other nations be like, "What's going on over here?
Yeah.
You need some intervention?"
Yeah.
Intervention. Like,
I don't worry too much. I pick on the Air Force a lot, but if you understood the power that our Air Force actually has, like the superiority that our Air Force carries, we could wipe that country could be wiped off of the face of the earth, and you'd never even know it existed. It would be just a giant glass Walmart parking lot. That's all that would be left.
Our Air Force did so good in Gulf Storm. They just wiped, and it's just they didn't have no ROEs. They were just like, they had a map. It was the officer. They had a map, and they're like, "I want you to bomb that." Why? I don't know. It looks important to them.
Yeah, nobody says why. Like, take that spot off of the map.
Literally the exact same picture. Yep. Just drink a cup of coffee.
That's
all right,
it.
Chief.
You got it. Meanwhile, in the background, Top Gun, Tom Cruise is over there playing volleyball.
Yeah, well,
Takes his glasses off real slow. We're gonna
faintly Danger Zone. Danger Zone's coming on.
God bless Kenny Loggins. So I checked the dates on that Iraq and Iran conflict, and it went from 22 September of 1980 all the way to 20 August of 88. So almost 8 years.
And you have to remember, again, that was when Iraq was at the height of their military power. And that was when, the Cold War was going on. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of every conflict that went on in the world was being backed by America or being backed by Russia or, the Western Allies or the Warsaw Pact, being backed by either side of the table.
Right.
So their strength was really, the numbers were drastically different because we were just feeding the fuel. We were giving them fuel to use essentially to fight these wars. I don't know if what we did to give Iraq, but you got to remember, this is Cold War.
Right. So one important factor that we need to throw out there and we need to discuss is the fact that Iran is actually a very they're a dictatorial kind of a country, right? So you're inundated.
Whoa, Jeremy, that's dangerous talk there. That's common. Best stick to your numbers.
It's a big word. I'm sorry. Dictatorial basically means they tell you what to do, what to think, blah blah blah.
Oh, that sounds nice.
Yeah. It removes the thinking facet, but the downside is the government kind of tells you what's going on all the time.
Just like my mom. Just tells me what to do.
Hey, single ladies. So we have to remember that Iran is very dictatorial, right? So there's some stuff that goes on from the beginning. There's a video that was released. It went viral, I think, is this girl who's sitting there and she's talking about, like, I grew up in Iran. Here's what's really going on, right? They tell you from the beginning at a very young age, in school, like, you're going to chant things like death to America. They teach you how to say death to America, and the kids don't actually know what that means.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that kind of gives you an idea for how much of a dictatorship is actually in place in Iran. Well, let's take it one step further.
Okay.
So, I believe this came out January 7th, 2020. Yeah. So this just came out last night. I found a couple of tweets that got really interesting. And so I did a little digging. So here's one of the tweets. Comes from a guy named Brandon Morse. Iran claims that it killed 30 Americans. The Pentagon said that no Americans were killed. MSNBC decided to run Iran's narrative. If you were wondering whose side the media is on, let that inform your opinion. So I thought, well, that's interesting. Wait a minute. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit more digging. Sure enough, Andrew Pollack, he chimes in. He says MSNBC pushed Iranian propaganda tonight by reporting that Iran killed 30 Americans tonight, even though the Pentagon said that that was a lie and no Americans were killed. Fake news, the enemy of the people. Right? And there's different perspectives on this. So, other people are chiming in. One guy says, well, the reporter was in Tehran, and he's saying that the media said that 30 U.S. soldiers were killed, and he'd stressed it had not been confirmed yet. Another person chimed in, says, see, that right there is the problem. Unless it's confirmed, it's not news. It's not newsworthy. So we have an issue here where MSNBC is potentially putting out false information, right?
Of course
they are. Because
that's a shocker, right?
I know. Somebody hold my beer. I'm about to fall over. I can't believe this. So, where it goes here, and then I watched the video. It was real. The guy is actually reporting from Iran. He didn't actually twist the words, and he actually said that Iran's news media was saying that 30 were killed. I happen to have a friend who lives right over he doesn't live in, he's doing a tour. We'll put it that way.
Okay, I was going to be like, somebody lives in Iran?
Well, he lives near Iran, but only because he's doing a tour. So it's like a temporary living situation. Probably a poor choice of words on my part. Sue me, I don't care. Anyway, I contacted him last night to make sure everything was okay. Guess what? 0 deaths.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, just like some of the actual media is providing the real information. Yeah, some rockets hit. Yeah, some missiles hit. You know where they hit? Over there.
Yeah. And that's what I've been hearing the entire, last night, after we got off with our gaming, I walked in the living room and go talk to my dad about what had happened with Iran and, the air bases and the bombing, all that. And it had on the news, they're like, no one's been hit at all. It's just kind of, and then again, when I woke up and was watching news this morning, it was still, no one's been killed. No confirmed deaths or casualties. It's like kind of just hit the plot of, grass out there next to the airstrip, nothing really happened.
Yeah. And so here's what's really interesting to me is everybody is all of a sudden become an expert on war. Right?
Oh my gosh. I like to think of myself as a history guy who knows history. And everybody is like, hey, this is World War III, and I ain't going to get drafted for no World War III. Ain't my president. Well, first off, he is your president. And they're like, hey, y'all supported Trump. Oh, and I love this. I gotta say this. They're like, y'all supported Trump. How about y'all go over there? Y'all go over there first. Come on, go on, get over there. Make America great again. And a guy actually commented on that post saying, man, this is really funny, but I can't help to think, if we go over there, who's going to pay taxes and stuff? I had to add that part. But like looking at history and stuff like that, the lead up to World War II, it was drastically different from us.
Mm-hmm.
Senator, I think he's Senator Crenshaw, eye patch.
Dan
guy.
Crenshaw.
Yeah. He made a very good point. He said World War III. This is not World War III.
Mhm.
This is an escalation. We're not saying this is war, because you got to remember, Iran for the past couple of years walked away from negotiations nuclear. Please correct me if I'm wrong here.
Okay.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Walked away from negotiations on the nuclear deal. Has been backing multiple terrorist groups that have led to several hundred deaths of Americans. Has seized oil tankers, embarrassed us pretty much by capturing our Navy boats and those Navy guys. The first time I went, I felt real sorry for the Navy. I was like, oh Jesus, poor guys, and they also were screaming death to America as we were funding them, giving them money during the Obama administration, if I remember correctly. Whereas now, if we kind of back up time a little bit and we look at the threats of World War II, Hitler came to power, and again, Hitler was named Man of the Year by Time magazine. So I guess I could see some relation between that and their proclaiming this terrorist was some kind of hero or freedom fighter. But then there was also threat of war, actual war. Germany started taking over European countries. I don't see Iran taking over a European country. I see them making threats and just poking the bear of the Western allies, not just America, of just making the West pretty mad. And also the big fact that there has to be multiple countries involved. And right now, I mean, all I see is America and her allies, and then I see Iran.
No, I mean, who wants to draw themselves into this kind of a conflict in the first place?
There's no world war. It's very stupid. There's none whatsoever of any indication of World War III as of now. I mean, I could be wrong, and Russia would be like, you know what? I don't like that. And they could decide to enter. I don't see that happening, though. All I see is us having a retaliation against what they started. They started this, and we have to make a statement saying we're not going to stand for this. This is just how the world works,
It's akin to punching the bully in the face, but you're also, to your point, there's something that's really crazy about this entire situation is, okay, first of all, if you're educating yourself through the media, you don't have all the information.
You're an expert, though.
Nobody.
Remember,
no, not an expert. Not at all. So these people, right? So this whole thing gets started, like everybody's up on Facebook and they're posting about like all this Iran stuff and the draft. Oh, that's another thing we got to talk about. Remind me about that. But you got to understand here, like with what Dan Crenshaw said, it's not an escalation to a world war. We're not talking about that kind of a situation here. There's either all the way at war, like we're way up here, like the conflict is crazy, and then way down here at the bottom, there's everything is fine. We're
drone strikes
right about here.
Yeah.
Right. It's not an on or an off. This is not binary. It's not that simple. Okay.
It's not a 10-point scale is what you're saying. You're either in there or you're not in there.
Yeah. It's not one or the other. There's a lot of gray area that we're still working through. Like, really, do you think the entire country of Iran really wants death for Americans? Come on.
No.
Hey, give me a break. That's regime crap. But so there's another issue here where the idiots, I'm going to call them idiots because this is what they are. Anybody who would say something like this would be a total idiot. There are idiots in the public school system that are telling kids that your dad could get drafted.
No.
Yeah, the draft is the big worry. The draft is the big thing. Like, I'm like, are you kidding me? First of all, we've got an all volunteer force. It has been since Vietnam. And the second thing about that is you can go into great detail with all of this. In fact, let's explore the whole draft thing in the first place, right? The draft applies to 18 to 26, 18-year-olds to 26-year-olds, right?
Okay.
So there's one side of it. There's one facet. And oh, by the way, all of you screaming angry feminists, now you're going to get your chance to prove yourself because
I think I just heard on social media. I can't confirm it, but I was just perusing, and whenever it's some kind of news like that, I tend to ignore. But someone was saying that the court just ruled that it is unconstitutional for only men to be drafted.
Yeah. I don't know that it was just ruled on. I think it'd been ruled on quite some time ago.
I don't know, but I was looking at that and I was like, no, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's time for those people that wanted all this equality crap. It's time to put up or shut up. But for the rest of us, we gotta realize the draft, like, really, like, that's your big concern is we're gonna start drafting people.
Yeah.
Half the people that would be drafted, they'd be like, get out of here. You're not fit to carry you're not fit to carry somebody else's boots into combat.
Yeah.
They don't realize.
I think it's just left going around, words again. And people are like, well, it's draft. Well, I mean, essentially they just conducted an airstrike. I mean, no one said there was going to be a draft when we invaded Iraq. There wasn't. I honestly, I don't think there's no, you have to be really, really, really in a bad spot. Again, we outnumber them in manpower by like 1,200,000 something, and they got like 500,000 men.
Mm-hmm.
We outnumbered them pretty roughly. The only time, let me put this in perspective, World War II, when we started the draft, it was Pearl Harbor got bombed. We had less than like 200,000 men or something. We had a really low number. We had like 2 full divisions ready to go. We were really low in manpower.
And we didn't decide to jump into the war in the first place.
We were attacked. We were like, you know what? Draft. And like most of the American public, oh yeah, and a note on that generation, most of the American public were like, they wanted to start something. Now they're gonna, let's get them.
Let's do it.
And so most of them didn't need the draft, but I mean, you have to look at the numbers. Something that drastically isn't just decided overnight.
Right.
It's after several attempts have failed. It's after a plan has been drawn up for the next 5 years, of the conflict, because we know it's going to be longer than a 6-month conflict. It's not going to be it's going to be a full-out war, And like I said, it can't be something that's decided overnight. It's
a slow escalation.
And I don't see it going anywhere close to that.
Yeah. When we went into Iraq in 2003, you think to put this into perspective here, of course, for whatever reason, there was a lot of different perspectives on why we went into Iraq and false pretenses and blah, blah, blah. You can argue that one all day long, but the simple fact is we had certain information. We thought that we needed to go into Iraq to stabilize and find these weapons of mass destruction and blah, 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 blah. Well, anyways, it wasn't a quick overnight decision. Even to go into Afghanistan, we were hit in September 11th of 2001. It wasn't until somewhere mid 2002 that we went into Afghanistan, and then we didn't go to Iraq until 2003. These don't happen overnight. It's a slow escalation. It's very methodical. It's very calculated. And we don't just jump on these things. Now, granted, we can look back, hindsight's 2020, and we probably made a lot of mistakes going into Iraq. Probably true. We probably wouldn't have created the ISIS bubble if we had maybe not gone into Iraq. But I mean, we can do the whatabouts and what ifs all day. That doesn't matter.
We would have found the cure for cancer if we didn't go into Afghanistan.
I'm convinced at this point that Trump could cure cancer and people would protest their right to die by cancer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a constitutional infringement, but what about our guns? No.
And what's really interesting to me is Trump ran on this non-interventionist policies, right? Yeah,
really.
You go back to 2016 when he was debating with Hillary. A lot of the stuff that he was basically calling her a warmonger, and he was talking about how we never should have gone into Iraq and it was a mistake. I mean, he's a very non-interventionist and very middle of the road. But the weird thing about all of the whole Trump presidency is like, they caught him saying, "Well, grab her by the pussy," and all of a sudden he's got that Republican behind his name, and so now he's a racist and a misogynist, and he hates women and he hates gays and all this other BS.
Well, I think another thing. Sorry, I didn't mean to clip you off, but when mentioning he was a non-interventionist, he didn't want to intervene on anything
non-interventionist
like that. Yeah, Roosevelt during World War II, he was the same way. He was isolationism. It's just another word for that. He doesn't want to enter. He's Europe's burning, Nazi Germany's invading countries and stuff. But he was like, my people don't want to get invaded. My people don't want to go to war. We're gonna help them best we can, but we ourselves are not going to get involved. And we didn't get involved until Pearl Harbor. And I'm not saying the attacks were Pearl Harbor. But I think the attacks have kind of shown that, hey, if we don't do something, they're just going to keep doing it.
Well, and because up until this point, it has been non-intervention, right?
Yeah.
And it was only a couple of days ago that actually it might have been about a week now when that contractor was killed, the U.S. contractor that we lost, and because that was retaliation, right? It wasn't intervention. Yeah. We weren't all of a sudden like, hey, we need to go ahead and take this Iranian general out. No, we didn't do it. We were just passive, letting it be, letting it go. And then we get attacked. And Trump's opportunity comes up for the Benghazi of 2019, if you will. Or was it 20? No, it was 2019, I think.
It was 2019.
Because it was right there on the new year. And guess what? We spun up the troops and we said, nope, we're not going to put up with this BS.
He handled it amazingly.
He did exactly what he should have done.
He's like, we ain't gonna take none of this. Nuh-uh.
Yeah, we're not, and that's the message that needed to be sent in the first place. Is we're not going to put up with this crap. This isn't Obama 08. We're not putting up with this crap, and we're not sending you a pallet of money either. So you might as well get that out of your head.
And I think one thing should be mentioned is pretty much what I'm taking away from this is you got to stand up and be like, okay, you got to stop, and we're gonna make you stop. Time to get the back. We're gonna make you stop. And a prime example to this, in my opinion, was criminal justice classes, world terrorism. I'm an expert on it.
Something to that.
As you start seeing a rise of terrorist activities in the 70s and 80s, I think, hostage situations, people were like, we got Bob here. We want you to free Al-Dafi, something like that, and, a lot of people were like, sure, there you go. But then it kind of got out of hand. And so people, were like, you know what? No, we're not going to do this. We have to stand up and we have to. And then we started sending in we were like, we're not going to do that. But here's the SEAL team, and we would send them in and they would take them all out. And then it kind of, with us, handling these attacks the way, with force, how they've been, perceived as a threat, we handled it with force, we're showing that, hey, we're making a stand, this ain't gonna work. And they went down. The attacks went down. I feel like the same could be said about, Iran and, that whole region of the world.
Yeah. There's another side of this thing that a lot of people probably aren't aware of. And you and I were taught in basic training. So from the very, very beginning, like first and foremost, dude, you're just a number. So you might as well get that whole self-important, self-righteous idea out of your head now. And we were taught, if you ever come into a POW situation, guess what? Yeah, we're not going to just go ahead and stop the whole world for you. We're going to try and find you, but
we'll give it an effort.
Yeah, you might as well just go ahead and just call it, I'm good, whatever. I had a good run. Sorry about your luck. That's a reality of this situation, is that most people don't understand, like the United States, we don't negotiate. We don't negotiate with terrorists. That's a popular.
We've tried
line.
That before. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. What is it, Bergdahl or something like that? We actually negotiated with. We literally negotiated with the terrorists.
Yeah, and released five known terrorists from Guantanamo for this one treasonous piece of garbage.
I'm just picturing Obama in the Oval Office. Yeah, we did good, right? Yeah, it was a good one. Lunch. Yeah,
we got a brave American back. Shut up. Oh my God! How many Americans do you think actually died because we released those 5 in exchange for that one?
I know when he originally was like, I'm gonna go join a terrorist organization. They had lost like 3 or 4 people. They had lost a couple people finding
Yeah, I think
him.
there were. I think you're right. I think it was 4. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but then there was another one who was gravely injured, and he actually just recently passed away. He was a sergeant first class, and I can't remember the name of. I wasn't prepared with this, so I don't remember his name off the top of my head. But he recently passed away because of his injuries, and
Damn.
man, this guy. Whatever happened to this Bergdahl dork anyway?
I don't know. He's probably still in contact with his terrorist organization. But yeah, I could only imagine. I can only speculate. Just how many people have paid the price because we made this decision. If I had been captured and they were like, we're gonna cut his head off if you don't, retreat from the Middle East. I would be like, okay, that's not gonna happen. But I'm gonna act like I don't know what's going on. And I'm going to look for the exit door because they're not going to do it, and I don't want them to do that.
So, I checked real quick to see what we could find on this whole Bergdahl thing, and the last thing that was ever reported that I could find was in July 1st of 2019. The Army Times reported that the Army is considering overturning Bo Bergdahl's sentence. Donald Trump tweeted out back then the decision on Sergeant Bergdahl, which, by the way, don't call him Sergeant. He didn't earn that crap.
Wasn't he given that,
Yeah, he was given the rank because it was assumed that he would have earned it had he been. It's a really weird thing that they can do, but you can essentially be promoted if you're like POW, MIA, things like that.
Yeah.
And you would have been promoted. So they just assume that you would have earned up to a certain rank, and so they can issue that rank just like that. And so that's what they did with him when they found him and he returned home. They gave him the award of E5 Sergeant, and I was like, really, dude? I know people who are way more qualified. He doesn't deserve those stripes. So that's kind of a personal thing. I don't think he deserves those stripes. But anyway, back then, Donald Trump had tweeted, the decision on Sergeant Bergdahl is a complete and total disgrace to our country and to our military. And I wholeheartedly agree.
Sounds about right.
Yeah, there's no sense for. Well, anyway, that doesn't really have a whole heck of a lot to do with Iran. But, Bergdahl, you're a piece of trash. I don't care.
Yeah.
So
that's what you get for being a traitor.
So here's the big question: where do we go from here? Do we just start assuming that World War III is inevitable, and then, damn it, we shouldn't be in this situation. Here's what's going on. Listen, I watch CNN, I watch MSNBC, I watch Fox.
I'm an expert.
I know everything, even though I haven't even left my own hometown ever.
Honestly, throwing around the term World War III, like I said, it's just an insult, just a play on words. I don't see this going anywhere. I don't see it going anywhere near World War III. Now, the situation here and now with the facts, I got 2 opinions. I got 2 paths.
I love opinions.
Okay. All right. The first one was the one I put it at earlier, where when, Iran conducted the ballistic missile, I think that's a key word we're missing here. Ballistic. This ain't rockets from a terrorist organization backed by Iran. Iran said, hi, I'm going to fire this at you. And they did. It was directly from Iran.
Yeah, it's not rocket science.
Directly. Yeah.
Got him.
What? Is it? But it was directly from Iran. So it's sending a pretty clear message that, hey, we did this, So they probably still have the made in USSR sticker still on them.
I don't know why that one didn't go off. It's weird. Call up EOD. We got to get this one just cut down.
Guy's probably poking with a stick. Oh, man, come on, do something.
Do something.
But it didn't do any damage. It like I said, I don't know the extent of damage as of now. No casualties are reported. It didn't. It's it could just be a show. Just be like, hey, for Iran, just say, we did it. we got our revenge. We got our revenge.
Yeah, show
Bring down the red flag. We got them. Yo, Iran is cool. We got them. We got the last word. You know, like a little kid starting a fight and he gets in the last word, you know, before, you know, the big brother's like, okay, whatever.
This is the equivalent of the your mom joke.
Yeah. You know, that's not what your mom said or your mom, that's a, that is a great way to put it. It's the equivalent of your mom joke. But then we have the other side where if we don't have, and this is, I'm going both ways here.
Just like your mom. Sorry.
Bill has left the chat. And we have the other way where we could retaliate back, sending a clear message that, hey, you want to go, Haas? Let's go. Let's do this. You know, but you do this because, you know, in my opinion, you know, they could be like, wow, we got away with launching direct missiles at an American airbase. Oh boy, you know, and other nations could show that as a sign of weakness. Terrorist organizations could be like, you know what, Iran did it. Come on, boys, let's do it. And everyone else could be like, let's get it. You know, let's head in there and let's start. And if we don't send a clear message back saying this is not going to be tolerated, we're gonna turn you. We're gonna wipe your country. We're gonna bomb you. We are gonna do so much damage. We're gonna glass your entire country. We're gonna glass it.
I'm just imagining some salty old Iranian army veteran hearing about us lobbing, hearing about them lobbing these missiles at us, and then him just being like, "Oh, guys,
yeah." You know, there's that one guy.
I'm about to retire.
There's that one guy. Yeah, they're there. They're just all in their war room, you know, their little shack, and they're all like, yeah, good job. And that one, you know, 30-year vet's like, yeah, good high fives. And as soon as they're at your run, he's like, oh boy, he's like, can I retire? But yeah, those are my two opinions. We can go send him a message not to do this again, showing the world a message, you know, don't mess with me, you know, or we could be like, he didn't really do any damage. This is getting, you know, we don't want to go to war. We're still trying to handle things in the Middle East. I'm 50-50 on him right now. And right now, at this point, if you provide evidence for either cause, I'm down for either cause. But I think one thing I do know for sure is we need patience and we need more time.
I agree.
To get the details.
So let's throw another concept out here. So there's a lot of there's something that a lot of people probably aren't aware of that, you know, people like you and I who've been over there, and you know,
but we're not experts though. Remember,
no, definitely not an expert. Retards. Not an expert at all. I am underqualified to talk about these things, and so take it for what it's worth. But when we were over there, you and I both did something very similar. In my first tour, I was one of the little stooges that was there in the S3 in the TOC.
Oh yeah.
For anybody who doesn't know what TOC is, that's a Tactical Operations Center. It's where all the big stuff goes.
Acronyms.
Acronyms
fun. Make us sound cool.
So I was in there, and I would hear stuff that goes on from time to time, right? And then likewise, carry it over into the second tour. I actually saw some of the stuff that was going on, took part in some of the stuff that was going on. And then after the fact, you know, we had like this little day room set up where we could get AFN and, you know, a couple of other, like we could actually get some of the mainstream media on the TV and kind of watch and see other things that are going on. Well, if I remember correctly, the mainstream media was not very good at relaying what actually happened. Now, of course, that being said, I remember when Fourth ID went in and pulled Saddam Hussein out of the spider hole. I remember this, okay? I also remember who got credit for it, but who actually did it. Now, here's what the mainstream media has told us. An engineer battalion from the 4th Infantry Division went in and found Saddam Hussein. It was just like this amazing freak accident. He stumbled across this little spider hole, and there he was right there on this little farm somewhere in the middle of Iraq, Saddam Hussein hanging out in this little bunker. Do you think that that's the absolute truth? I'll help you out here.
I'm
Now,
listening.
that being said, you spent some time on Radio Watch and the Talk as well.
Oh, that's an understatement.
Now, did you ever watch any of the mainstream media while you were over there?
No.
Do you ever remember anything happening while you were in the operations center and then people talking about it after the fact and being like, wait, that's not what happened?
I've had that happen a couple times, and I also know where this is going with the intelligence part. Yeah.
So you're exactly right, because that's where I was going. There's a lot of intel that it's passed around within the Pentagon. It's passed around within the military. The president has a whole lot more information than we do. So wouldn't it therefore be incumbent upon us to probably just trust the Pentagon with their intelligence? Probably just, and I'm not calling for blind trust, but the fact is you don't have all the information. None of us have all the information. They're not. It's not like they're picking up the phone and calling up old Sergeant Barry. Hey, we understand that you used to be in the military, so we want to run some things by you. No, that's not happening. So what they're doing is they're taking this information, this intel, and they're running it by all these guys with top secret security clearances that know way more about the situation than we do. They're briefing the president on all this information. So he's got access to all this intelligence that we don't have. My point is this simple. Why are we doing the armchair quarterback, backseat driver BS from the comfort of our farm, sitting here on Facebook pretending to be these experts because we watched MSNBC one morning?
I don't know.
It should be that it's incumbent upon us to actually trust the leadership in place.
Whoa.
Because what are you going to do otherwise? What's the alternative?
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean.
Are you going to start an uprising?
It's kind of, I mean, it's.
You want to join the Iranian army?
Yeah. I don't, you got a point. I'll give you that. You got a point.
Well, I don't know. I get irritated because there's so many people that like to talk about what's going on, but they don't have a clue.
Yeah, I don't think we actually ever had a really good idea. Military intelligence, we like to rag on them, and yeah, they've delivered before. I've seen it, 1 in a million times. They deliver, but there was a running joke when I was in the Talk. All right, and the Talk, I like Jeremy. I worked in the S3 shop. I was a radio operator, though. You were a driver, I think, weren't you?
I was whatever they wanted me to be. Some days it was radio. Some days it was drive. It just was like, hey, you're driving the 113 today. I don't have a license. Oh, hey, sir, can we get a license for him? There you go.
It's just a piece of paper that says license.
How does it work? You'll figure it out.
Half
$1 million piece of equipment. Figure it out.
People are like, that's not how that actually went. You'd be surprised what the military pulls.
That is actually exactly how it works.
But I was a radio operator. That was my sole duty. My sole duty, radio operator, and I took out the trash every now and then. So I did hear a lot, and I heard a lot of intelligence stuff that kind of just made me, you go in and you're like, everything's a finely tuned machine in the military when you're first in, And when I was deployed the first year, I think I was 6 months in the military and I deployed, so I had the new recruit smells still, the military.
Still got your fresh little hand sanitizer with you?
Finely tuned machine. Damn it, I did. And so like, you're like, nothing could go wrong, and I remember specifically there was a running joke for one of the, he was an artillery NCO, E5. No, E6 or 7. He's been up there. He's been there for a minute or two. A real cool guy. Had one of those laser pointers.
Back when those were a thing.
Yeah,
those
right?
were cool.
And it was big, about the size probably about your wall or something like that. A big map of, our province, all the cities on it, all the important stuff you see inside important command centers, And he'd be like, he'd switch that on. He'd turn on that laser pointer. kind of wave it around the map, and then he kind of changed the setting where it does like 5,000 little dots, and he put it over our province and be like, we have reports of IEDs in these locations. And it's kind of a good example of how military goes. Military intelligence rolls. We don't know what's going on. And one of the running jokes too was when I got switched over to a line platoon finally. Thank God,
Go get some.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. But good God, I remember the first day being there, being like, do I have to go outside the wire? I was been there for a few months, and the most common thing I would hear out of our command center for the company, out of our little group, there was the intelligence guy would open the door every now and then, and be like, hey, we just got intelligence reports that there is IED suicider vest out and about. So
Yeah,
good luck out there. Yeah, and that was it. Every couple of days they go out there. Hey, reports. Intelligence says. Hey, reports. Intelligence says. Hey, we believe. It was always a guy wearing an explosive vest, suicide vest, and it just kind of became clear that we're in a conflict. So shouldn't that just be automatically assumed? Am I retarded? No one ever knows the full picture, and I don't know. You'd be surprised at how the intelligence operation works. We had an operation in Afghanistan where we found a tank. We found like a T-72 tank, and they were like, "That's a T-72 tank," and it was just at a village. The Russians were there, believe it or not. The Russians were there, and they were like, "Okay, that's a T-72 tank. We can't have that there. Why is that there?" And so drone feed found it. So they're like, well, okay, it's there. And then they looked at it the next day, and the turret had turned. And they're like, okay, obviously someone's down there. We need to launch a multi-million-dollar operation to go do it. Why don't we launch a Hellfire at it? We need to get people on the ground to make sure there's no one else there. And so we had giant convoys going over there, all because these intelligence guys were like, turret turn. Obviously, there's a platoon or a unit. No, a company of Taliban Hajis there now. And so it's just kind of a fine example of how the military machine works. The military intelligence machine works. I have, especially on a platoon level, I have very rarely seen it where it's provided, and that's just kind of standard. I mean, I know they try their best, but
Well, here's another fine example of how the military works for you, because we've all got anecdotes from this. All right, my first tour, one of the things I was doing was I was going back and forth to BIOP and Camp Normandy. No, I don't remember the name of the other place. But anyways, I was traveling. So BIOP being Baghdad International Airport. And we were actually near the Iranian border. So it was like a 2-hour trek. And I was driving a 5-ton. And back then, a 5-ton is like, whatever. It's just a big, giant truck. It's no big deal.
Yeah, it's a U-Haul trailer. It's a U-Haul, pretty much.
It's a little more powerful than a U-Haul. It's a diesel engine. That engine's pretty strong.
Never mind.
I was pleasantly surprised with the strength of the engine. But anyway, you have to do what's called a PMCS on a vehicle on a weekly basis, which is preventive maintenance checks and services. And so when I do these maintenance checks, the horn was always broken, right? There's nothing you can do about it. There's no horn on there. Can't help you. Well, every week, PMCS, horn broken. Guess what? One day I had to go to the mechanics to get a tire changed, and they're going over and they're looking at my PMCS. They're like, oh, the horn's broken. We have to deadline this vehicle. And when you deadline a vehicle, basically what that means is you are not allowed to operate this vehicle. And I'm like, but it's a horn. It doesn't stop the vehicle from working. Like, yeah, but technically it's a deadline according to the manuals and the TMs and whatnot. And we're going to need the colonel to sign off on this for a horn. Are you sure? Why don't you just fix the damn tire? Oh, it's deadlined. All right, I'll be back. So I had to go to the talk, run it up the chain of command. Hey, they want the colonel to sign off on this because it's got a broken horn. They look at me like I'm stupid. The horn's been broken on this thing for years. They've never ordered a replacement part. They've never fixed the part. All of a sudden, out in the middle of a combat zone, in the middle of our tour, you can't use that vehicle. This is our military, and we're the finest fighting force in the world. And you're worried about Iran?
Why do you think we're so good at waging war? All of our soldiers are pissed off.
Well, that and because none of us have any idea what's actually going on.
Improvisation is a key part of any plan.
That's right. Well, and who said that? We just talked about this last night. There was somebody who once said that fighting the United States of America was the most difficult challenge because their own people don't even read their own manuals.
I think I've heard that before too, but I don't remember who. I don't think it was Admiral Yamamoto. He's too busy fighting the Navy. I don't. Sounds like something the Japanese would say. Probably his last words.
Let me find that real quick if I can.
Oh boy, here we go. Google that. Yeah, there are plenty of fine examples of how the military actually works. Like when you're in the military for the first, couple of months, you're in the actual active military at your unit, you will think you're retarded.
Yeah, you
It's
will.
pretty normal.
You will, because it goes against everything, every fiber in your being, every grain. You're just like, well, this doesn't make any sense. Like if you think back to civilian life, well, we would never do anything like this as a civilian. Well, yeah, guess what? You're not a civilian. You're a number.
You don't have rights.
You don't have rights. The reason that the U.S. Navy does so well in wartime is that war is chaos, and the U.S. Navy practices chaos on a daily basis. There's one of them. That's cute.
Well, that was back when the Navy was actually really, really. They didn't have technology. They had to be really physically strong.
Okay, it doesn't say who cited this, but here's the phrase I was talking about. A serious problem in planning against American doctrine is that the Americans do not read their manuals, nor do they feel the obligation to follow their doctrine. That's similar, and that applies to the military big time, because let's face facts, man. When I went to the board to promote to sergeant, I remember thinking like, well, great. Now I have to read all these books. That's freaking boring. I'd rather, there's so many other things I'd rather be doing. I'd rather be in the field and maybe practicing some battle drills or something like that.
Yeah.
No, I got to sit here and read these books. And like, there's a manual for military clothing, wear and appearance. I think it's AR 670-1. And how useless is that knowledge? Hey, where would you find the rules for how you're supposed to wear your uniform? AR 670-1. Great. Can I have my stripes now?
I can just imagine a young Jeremy right next to the React to Fire field manual. I know that pretty good.
There was when I went to the board, you'll enjoy this. I was infantry, and back then there were no females in the infantry, right? So I went to the board, and there was one female NCO that was on the board, and she was filling in for her company's first sergeant. Because
what was her MOS? What was her job?
I don't know, soft skills, support, something that doesn't matter. Anyway, so she goes, I have one question for you, and what is a something about the standards for females, blah blah blah, uniforms, et cetera, et cetera. I'm like, I don't know. I'm in the infantry. I don't know. And guess what? I know some people probably didn't appreciate the answer. I know for a fact that she was not happy with me at all. She was just like, oh, whatever. She had that chip on her shoulder attitude, like, I'm in E6. Look at my rank, that kind of thing. Like, whatever. I don't care. But her response, her reaction was solid gold, because she just like rolls her eyes and is like, another combat arms guy. But I came out of that board with a 147 out of 150, or 149 out of 150, whatever it was. It was 147 or 149. I scored the second highest in the company. It's real easy. All you got to do is be confident in yourself and just spout the information that they tell you to spout. It's that simple. Boards aren't difficult. The difficult part is proving to people that you know what you're talking about.
Fair enough.
That was one the biggest question everybody kept saying is like, whether you're right or wrong, just stick to it. Just say, Sergeant Major might say, well, are you sure that answer's correct? Yes, Sergeant Major, I am. I'm absolutely 100% sure.
Wow, you're retarded. Here's your stripes.
Yeah, well, you're retarded, but here's your stripes. Good job. So, yeah. Anyway, we digressed a little bit, but
yeah.
So let's wrap up this this Iran idea that we're, all of a sudden we're going to war. Listen.
Oh God.
Just everybody, just calm down. Just calm down. Take a breath.
Back it up. We need time and we need patience. No one said war. No one said war.
This thing needs to unfold. It will take time. It will take patience. It will take energy. And here's another one I heard today. Somebody posted this crap on Facebook on the little farmer boy that I was talking about earlier that was becoming an expert on all things war related.
Oh yeah.
Somebody else posted in that little comment section. Comment sections are the devil. Somebody else posted in there that the only reason that Trump is stirring this pot with Iran is so that he can get reelected. Do you really think that if Trump wanted to get reelected, all he's got to do is start bombing Middle Eastern countries and that's going to do it? Well, no, because you don't understand that a president can't be impeached during wartime. Okay, that's cute. Well, but the articles of impeachment still haven't made it to the Senate, so let's throw that out there. You might want to hurry up and get those articles over there before this war kicks off there, stud.
Wink, wink. I think one thing we didn't touch up on is the people's reaction to Trump, people blaming Trump again. How everybody has just jumped on him automatically. And people are like, well, it's Trump's fault. He did it. And again, to what I said previously, it's not an act of war. It's a response. It's they started this. We're simply just responding to it with, in my opinion, a good amount of force. We're saying, making a stance of, hey, don't mess with us.
Yeah.
You don't want to do this. If you really want to do this, you're going to regret every minute of it.
That's right.
Yeah,
absolutely will.
And I mean, I support his decision. I feel like he would make a pretty good, calm, collective decision.
Yeah, my 2 cents is like just back it up, just chill out. Yes, America's on standby. Yes, we have war fighters ready to rock, and if necessary.
I tell you right now, if I could, I'd still be the first guy to go. If it comes down to going, I'd still be like, yeah, I'll go.
Still want to go get that CIB? I knew we'd work that in there somehow. Oh.
Bill has left the chat.
So for those of you who don't know, CIB is the Combat Infantry Badge. Okay, it's a very prestigious award. In fact, it's right back here. See that guy? That guy way up there.
No one sees it. You should actually bring it down and show it to the camera.
Yeah, maybe I'll do an overlay of a picture for people who are watching on YouTube.
Next to me not having one.
Next to Bill, me taking it away. A CIB is a Combat Infantry Badge. It's one of the most prestigious awards that you can earn as an infantryman. You have to be an infantryman to earn it. They don't have anything like the other combat arms. Everybody else, basically, they get a combat action badge, which we make fun of all the time, but at least you serve whatever.
Hold on. A mortar man can get it too.
But he's infantry, right?
Well, technically, but he has a different different set of numbers.
No, he's still an 11 series.
But isn't it like 11 Charlie or something like that?
Yeah. That's still an 11 series.
And then there's the medic. We care about the medic one because Doc's our boy.
Yeah.
Everybody likes Doc.
Doc, the combat medic badge, totally respect that. Totally respect the CIB. Not a whole lot of love for the CAB. But the point is, the original point that I was driving home here is Bill's a little salty because he still he didn't get a CIB while he was deployed to Afghanistan. And it's not his fault. He just happened to be not engaged by the enemy.
I think a proper way, a good example of how to kind of compare, like to show how big the CIB is in the infantry world, is you can have one soldier that won the Bronze Star and one soldier that got a CIB, and everybody would make fun of the Bronze Star guy for not having a CIB.
This is true. I probably would too, because really the Bronze Star doesn't mean anything anymore.
Well, or any other high level awards, because essentially, and it sucks because it's like, oh wow, I spent 3 years and millions of dollars of training to become an infantryman, and I never get to fire my gun.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of a sign that you did your job over there, and just once. That's all I wanted, just once.
It is. It
Never
is a
got it.
sign. But it's unfortunate because in 2003, CIBs were blanketed in my battalion, so everybody and their mom was awarded one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm sure if the whole Iran thing kicked off and there was a ground war, it'll be Oprah Winfrey with the CIB. You get a CIB. You get a CIB. Everybody gets a CIB.
Well, and so with the CIB, I was actually embarrassed that I had one in my first tour because I didn't engage the enemy. Not in my first tour.
Yeah.
Now going back to my second tour, oh yeah, I made up for it. Definitely engaged the enemy in my second tour, but it can be a very sensitive issue for an infantryman to deploy and not get a CIB. So
yep.
You legit have my sympathy, but I will forever, to the day that I die, say I'm sorry. Iraq was a much more difficult war than Afghanistan. Sorry, not sorry.
I thought you were just going to say make fun of me, but whatever.
Well, I'll make fun of you too.
You got shot at. I didn't. So, of course, it's more difficult. You sound stupid just for saying that. Idiot.
Well, everybody, we hope that you don't lose any sleep over the war in Iran, because I'll tell you what, I'm certainly not going to. The draft, it's not coming back unless it really, 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 really hits the fan. This is not World War III. Calm your jets. Calm down. Maybe go out and spend a little extra time with your family. Take your mind off of all the tension. Pay no attention to MSNBC or CNN or any other of the mainstream guys, because they're all full of crap. And Bill, do you have any parting wisdom?
If you're not infantry, you're not in the real army.
I couldn't agree more, except for a few other. Well, we got the medics. You got
okay,
the
all right.
And then enough. I think, is it, what are the special forces guys? What are they?
Okay, fine. Let me say this. If you're joining the military, remember, it wasn't a combat cook that crossed the Rhine or stormed D-Day. There. Do you want me to say it like that, Jeremy?
That was beautiful.
Oh, man, Shucks, you stop. Made me blush. Let's go to war.
It made me blush, too. In fact, I think it's, I'm so flushed, I think I need to do some freaking push-ups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.
God bless.
Went to a mosque, gonna throw some rocks. Tell the Ayatollah, gonna put you in a box. The country's got a feeling, really hit the ceiling. Old Uncle Sam's getting pretty hot. Time to turn Iran into a parking lot.